Hello. Sorry, I'm running late. I was trying to finish something up and I did not. So, my apologies for being 3 minutes late. I don't like to do that. I generally am not, and I'm still trying to get everything set up. Sorry. Anyway, I'm Alternator, also known as AJ, and thank you everyone for being here today. Um, Hello, Puddletown. Your messages have been quite interesting this morning, and I hope you're feeling better, and I hope you get to go home soon. Hello, Tracy Dang. Thank you for being here. I thought you posed for my thumbnail, Gabby. Just kidding. Would never think that about you. What's up, Flash fan? Getting excited for your trip. I'm good. I was trying to get something finished. I didn't, so that's just life. Anyway, today we are going to be talking about Hell's Belle. She is not a nice lady. In case you didn't figure that out, she was born in Norway. I will not be saying her full name because I cannot. Let me get this open up here. Flash fan, you're going to be fine. You're going to have a great time. Oh, and I forgot to shut the door. So my dog's probably being here. Is it Monday? Because it sure feels like it. So, Belle, and I think it's Gunness, or is the way I think it was. She, like I said, was born in Norway in 1859. She possibly died. Possibly. You have to wait because there's a twist here in 1908. So we will have to see. Her nicknames, I'm trying to scroll on the wrong page. Hell's Belle, Indiana Ogress, the Lady Bluebeard, and the Laporte Ghoul. she she was great. I guess, well, we're in Indiana, so I guess I'll just have to use my own accent. I might come up with something. I'm not sure yet. Who knows? The way the day's going. So she was active in Illinois and Indiana, but mostly Indiana. So that's why she lived in Illinois. We'll get to that in just a second. Hello, Adair. How you doing? AKA Valley Girl. Maybe we'll do a Valley Girl accent. I doubt it. So she was active between 1884 and 1908. Most of her victims were men whom she enticed to her 48-acre farm near LaPorte, Indiana, which is up north by the Chicago area. I believe it's up there somewhere in the northern part of the state. Belle allegedly unalived and buried the bodies of more than 40 wealthy suitors and an untold number of victims, including both her husbands and children, and profited from their insurance policies, making her one of the most prolific serial unalivers in history, even though that really was not a term then. She was born Brynhild Paulstatter Storseth. I have no idea. I apologize if you know how to say that in Norwegian. She was the youngest of 8 children. At 14, Belle began working for neighboring farms by milking and herding cattle to save enough money for the journey to New York City. She moved to the United States in 1881, where she was processed by immigration at Castle Garden. She changed her first name to Belle at that time, then made her way to Chicago to join her sister Nellie, who had immigrated several years earlier. In Chicago, while living with her sister and brother-in-law, Belle worked as a domestic servant, then at a butcher shop, which will come in handy later, cutting up animal carcasses. Yeah. Hey, Debbie. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. We're getting off to a tiny bit of a rough start. At least I am. So I appreciate it. Bluebeard, the cowbell pirate or Bluebeard Belle the cow pirate? Maybe, maybe. She was described as being, I don't have this written down in here, but she was described as somewhere between 5'7" and 6 feet tall. Um, she was for lack of a better way to put it, it sounds like she was a manly woman. She was a large woman, obviously tall wise anyway, and I think she was built. She could handle herself quite nicely. It sounds like she was very strong, and she was anywhere between, I think, 210, 250. She's a stout gal. She was a very stout gal. That's the nicest way to put it. Um, so she married her first husband while she was in Chicago. His name was Mads. I have no idea how to say the Ditlev Anton Sorensen, in 1884. They owned a candy store, which later burned to the ground. And then their home also burned to the ground. Fires will come in again later. Um, and in both instances, they were able to get the insurance company to pay them for their losses, as they should. Once the Sorensens received the insurance payout, Belle quickly realized she could play the system. Thus, her crime spree was born. Belle and Mads had 2 children, Caroline and Axel. I have been looking. I cannot come up with if these were her children or if these were his children from a previous marriage. And I don't know if he was a widower. There's nothing on his Find a Grave site that tells me for sure that these were her children or not her children. So they had those 2 babies. They would meet an untimely fate due to acute colitis, which is inflammation of the large intestines. Bye, Puddletown or Flash Fan. Have a great trip. You're going to be fine, and I cannot wait to hear all about your adventures when you get back. So eat all that seafood and enjoy every minute of it, Flash Fan. He's going to Aruba. I'm so jealous. Caroline died from acute colitis in 1896, and Axel died in 1898 from the same illness. Acute colitis symptoms are like those of many different types of poison. Convenient, isn't it? And she had both babies, they were just babies, insured and collected a large insurance check after each child died. This here says neighbors gossip about the children since Belle never appeared to be pregnant. I could not find anything either way to state whether those children were hers or not. But she had them insured, like any great parent does. It's just weird to me. Belle's string of bad luck would continue when her husband, Mads, would tragically die. Belle explained that Mads came home with a headache, and she provided him with, is that quinine powder for the pain? She later checked on him, and he was dead. Mads died of a cerebral hemorrhage that day. Lucky for Belle, Mads had purchased 2 life insurance policies. On July 30th, 1900, both policies were active at the same time, as one would expire that day and the other would enter into force, giving Belle the maximum payout. And I found 2 amounts here so I just said reportedly somewhere between $5,000 and $88,500. So around $250,000-ish if she got the $8,500. And wasn't that convenient that she had, I didn't know you could do that. You probably can't today. So this began to raise suspicions around Belle. So she left Chicago and she moves to LaPorte and she bought a pig farm, which is also convenient, as we have discussed in the past about pigs and what they do. Belle married Peter Gunness on April 1st, 1902. And boy, I don't know if April Fool's Day was a thing then, but Peter picked a bad, bad day. The following week, Peter was out of the house. His infant daughter died of unknown causes while in Belle's care. Again, so Peter was a widower, and I cannot find on his Find a Grave website. It has his first wife's name, but I cannot find this infant daughter. I can't who she is specifically. I'm going to say it wasn't Belle's because they had just been married. So, um, which was really convenient. And Peter died 8 months later due to a skull injury. Also, keep that one in mind. All this is going to tie in for you, I promise. Allegedly, Peter died after an auger from a sausage grinder fell from a shelf and struck him in the head. I don't know exactly how big that is, but it had to be pretty hefty to do that. The district coroner convened a coroner's jury, suspecting unaliving, but nothing came of the case. Belle collected $3,000 in insurance money for Peter's death. I think I think it's quinine, maybe, Gabby. It's Quinine. So in 1905, Miss Bell began writing matrimonial ads for the Chicago area newspaper. She was looking for love. But she wasn't looking for love. She was charming in her writing, and she would lure unsuspecting men to her farm. There she would unalive them and take their money as she was ruthless. One of her ads reads, "Personal, comely widow who owns large farm in one of the finest districts in LaPorte County, Indiana, desires to make the acquaintance of gentlemen equally well provided with views of joining fortunes. No replies by letter considered unless sender is willing to follow with personal visit. Triflers need not apply." I was thinking, yes, I knew that from somewhere. Uh, because when we had to, when my husband and I went to Haiti, we had to take that or get whatever. We had to do something with that so we wouldn't get malaria. Um, the other thing that I found that they think her first husband, he had an enlarged heart. So he had problems, but I'm going to say she helped him have a problem. Hey, Sir Frank Otter, how you doing? Oh, she was good at the profession. A dear. So that's her ad. And one of her ads was answered by a Wisconsin farmhand, Henry Gerholt. After traveling to LaPorte, Mr. Gerholt wrote to his family saying that he liked the farm and was in good health. He requested that they send him seed potatoes. When they failed to hear from him after that, the family contacted Belle. She told them that Mr. Gerholt had gone off with horse traders to Chicago. However, she kept his trunk and fur coat. So, one down. John Moe, of Minnesota, answered Belle's ad in 1906. After they had corresponded for several months, Mr. Moe traveled to LaPorte and withdrew a large amount of cash. Mistake number 2, Mr. Moe. Mistake number 1 was answering her ad. Mistake number 2 was taking out cash. Mistake number 3 was going to her farm. Although no one ever saw John Moe again, a carpenter who did occasional work for Belle observed that John Moe's trunk, along with more than a dozen others, remained in her house. I am so sorry that you are not feeling well, Sir Frank Otter. Please be careful. My daughter had that earlier last month and ended up with pneumonia. So it is not anything to be messed with. She had a flu A, I believe. In December 1907, Andrew Helgeline, I don't know, they can't just have nice names like Smith, from Aberdeen, South Dakota, wrote to Belle and was warmly received. The pair exchanged many letters, and they corresponded for several months before Andrew withdrew $3,000 from his bank in South Dakota and traveled to LaPorte. He was intending to marry Belle, and Andrew traveled to Belle's farm in January of 1908. After Andrew did not return from his visit to LaPorte, his brother, I have no idea how to say that, Asley? I don't know, wrote a letter to Andrew. Belle replied saying that Andrew was no longer in LaPorte and may have gone to Norway to visit family. Suspicious, Asley came to LaPorte as soon as he could, which was in May 1908. On May 5th, 1908, Asley discovered his brother's remains in soft depressions in a pen for hogs. After briefly digging up one of the depressions, a gunny sack was found that contained 2 hands, 2 feet, and 1 head, which Asley recognized to be those of his brother. It is believed that Andrew was the last victim of Belle Gunness. Aforesaid. I don't know. AJ's like, why can't this read like C Spot Run? Exactly. I can't. I was looking, I thought I just should ask Baker how to say all these because when I was reading, it's Norwegian and Danish is not that far apart. They are writing this like you had a head every day. Like you find a head every day. I know. um, yeah, they are. So this letter was found at the was not the Helgalian farm um, at Belle's farm. That is my mistake right there. The letter was written in Belle's own careful handwriting and dated January 13th, 1908. And give me 1 second because I have this little part of it, but I found the rest of it. So let me get that because all right. Stop it. It's interesting to say the least. But now I got to find where these things are all open at because they did not all open in the same program because why would anything do that? Also, I am going to put all these newspaper clippings that I have in Discord if Gabby's nice enough to make me a spot for them. But I had to black out some things because it is 1908. And we don't talk like that anymore. If you know what I mean. So I may just black out the whole articles because I don't. It just was bugging me. All right. So here's the entire letter that was found on the farm from Belle to Frank. To the dearest friend in the world, no woman in this world is happier than I am. I know you are now to come to me and be my own. I can tell from your letters that you are the man I want. It does not take me long to tell when I like a person, and you I like better than anybody in the world. I know. The king would be no happier than you when you get here. As for the queen, her joy will be small compared with mine. I think now we will enjoy each other's company. You, the dearest man in the world, we will be alone with each other. Can you conceive of anything nicer? You will love my farm, sweetheart. In all of Porte County, there is none that will compare with it. She is right about that. It is on a nice green slope near two lakes. The breeze is fine and it's very healthful here, but not good for your health, sir. All of my neighbors are kind and lovable. You will love them. I know. Sweetheart Andrew. I think of you constantly when I hear your name mentioned, and this is generally when one of the dear children speaks of you, or I hear myself humming it with the words of an old love song. It is beautiful music to my ears. My heart beats in wild rapture for you. My Andrew, I love you. Come prepared to stay here forever. When you find what a nice farming country this is, you will not leave for the world. It will suit you and me. With many kisses, Miss Belle Gunness. Yeah. Uh, come here, come prepared to stay forever. It is Hotel California before Hotel California was there. So this is part of one that he wrote back, but they didn't have the whole thing. So Andrew wrote back, Dear sweetheart, Mrs. Gunness, you say you are happy when you hear from me. I also love to get letters from you. I am a bashful man, but I am not afraid to say that you suit me best of anyone I ever wrote to or saw. Someday I will come and get you. And then the letter broke off. And that's all that they found, unfortunately. Yeah, hot letter. Yeah, it was back in 1908. So they were finding heads everywhere every few days, on her farm especially. But there was some other things in that I was like, holy crap, when I saw it, because you're just not used to seeing stuff like that in a newspaper. But then, ironically, a lot of stuff was just the same. I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys are just, they were all fighting back then as the way they're all fighting right now. It's just, this was not a Craigslist ad. This is an actual article um, that was in one of the papers around the country at the time. I may go back to it because it really has some. I have to black something else out that I just saw because there's some more information in it. So it's about when we get to what may or may not have happened to Miss Gunness. She's things legends are made of. Let me get this one back up here. I love a hexagon. So eventually, one too many men went missing. Their families wanted answers from Belle, and her sweet words would not dissuade them. Belle's criminal activities came to light on April 27th, 1908, when the farmhouse that she lived in on her farm burned to the ground. Another fire. How convenient. In the ruins, authorities found the bodies of three children and a headless adult woman. They believed to be Belle. It was in the basement of the house was completely destroyed. Trying to locate the missing head, investigators began searching the grounds and dug up the remains of many different people. Immediate inspection of the site revealed that there were dozens of such slumped depressions in the yard, and further digging and investigation at the site yielded multiple burlap sacks containing torsos and hands, arms hacked from the shoulders down, masses of human bone wrapped in loose flesh that dripped like jelly. That is not my description. That is theirs. Let me get rid of that. Ugh. I was supposed to say, "Oh, I love," like a love triangle, not a hexagon. You don't have a love hexagon going on? Um, Loose flesh that dripped like jelly from trash-covered depressions that proved to be graves. In each case, the body had been butchered in the same manner the body had been decapitated. The arms removed at the shoulders and the legs severed at the knees. Blunt force trauma and gashes characterized the skulls that had been found separated from the bodies. I made that a little nicer. I tried. After finding the parts of 5 bodies on the first day, an additional 6 on the second day, some in shallow graves under the original hog pen, convenient, others near an outhouse or a lake, the police stopped counting. A dozen men were called in to dig up the land, which was a suspected burial ground, and thousands gathered to watch what would be unearthed. So Belle's mistake was inviting Andrew, because Andrew had a brother who cared about him. Despite the initial success with the identification of Andrew Algelian, whatever, widening news coverage, and inviting inquiries from families with men who had gone missing, most of the remains were unable to be identified. Belle may have been gone, but her handyman, Ray Lamphere, remained. It is believed he may have been Belle's accomplice in disposing of the victim's remains. Even though Ray and Belle had a rocky relationship, he had hoped to become Belle's partner in life and on the farm. Uh, did he not see there she had no partners in life? I don't believe that she was a cannibal. Ew. I didn't find anything that said she ate anything. Uh, I don't think so. Let us retire to Tara and recline in the veranda. Yeah, I Easter. I didn't even see that said that. I read it eater. You wanted waster. I don't know what you wanted. Your autocorrect is correcting you, and it's funny. Allegedly, Ray was jealous of the many suitors who came to the farm. A few months before the fire, Belle fired Ray and tried to have him committed. And she should have had her self committed. Just saying. Belle insisted that Ray was crazy and a threat to her family. Ray was brought in as a suspect after the farmhouse burned down. When he was arrested, he was wearing John Moe's overcoat and Henry Gerhold's watch, whose trunks were left, remember, at, at Belle's house. He was ultimately found guilty of arson, but not for the unaliving of Belle and her children. Now, this is where it kind of gets a little crazy, because Ray claimed that Belle was a serial unaliver and that she was still alive. Which I was like, how do you start a fire to unalive yourself and your children and take your head off in the process? So I was suspicious if she was still alive or not when I first read that. Ray claimed Belle unalived her suitors by pouring poison in their dinner coffee. Do not have dinner coffee. Once her victims were in a stupor, Belle would split their skulls like she did to her second husband, Peter. Remember the one where the sausage auger fell on his head, supposedly? Belle would haul her victims to the basement to butcher their bodies. Remember when she worked on the farm, butchering the cows? Ray claimed some of the parts were fed to the hogs, which we all know what happens there, while other parts were buried. He also claimed that once Belle felt the eyes of suspicion on her, she packed up the money she had stolen from all her suitors, smothered her children, and then fled for good, leaving behind a corpse that would look enough like her to fool everyone into believing she perished in the fire. Rage, rage. Ray alleged the headless body belonged to a woman from Chicago who was promised a job at Belle's farm. Ray Lampier's story spread through newspapers nationwide. For years after the fire, people would claim to have spotted Belle in Chicago, San Francisco, New York, Los Angeles, and a small town in Mississippi. The sighting stopped between 1930 and 1931. And as we do in America, the American people could not let go of Miss Belle, who either met a hellish end in the farmhouse fire or escaped to swindle and unalive again. Although there was speculation that she did not die in the fire, the body found in the farmhouse was buried at Forest Home Cemetery with her children and her first husband in the belief that it was Belle. I am sure that they appreciated that. If I would be like, you get this thing out of you get this lady out of here. I don't want her by me for eternity. She needs to go. She needs to go. In 2007, the body was exhumed and examined by forensic anthropologists to identify the remains positively, but the results were inconclusive. Dang it. In 2008, a monument to her unidentified victims was placed at Pine Lake Cemetery in LaPorte, Indiana. So what I was trying to get done, and I didn't get done, was the pictures, all the pictures that I have, so that you could see. There's pictures. There's some I can't put up here because one of them is a pile of, you can't tell, but there's bones and stuff in it, and so I can't put that one up anyway. There is one of her, and I'm not sure. I'm not. So there's like a picture of Belle, and then there's like a guy standing there holding a head, which has clearly been taken off of somebody's body. I don't know. I could not just gather from the picture if they were trying to say that that was her head, but I don't think that ever happened. I don't know if the farm is still there, Gabby, but they are all buried up in that area, um, in LaPorte. Okay, so here's some of her victims that they did identify. So Caroline Sorensen was Kelly. Yay! Congratulations. I'm so proud of you. You made it. I hope you're having a great time out there. Ironically that you say that, Sir Frank Otter, because in one of the I'm still trying to get stuff together for him. I just, for whatever reason, and I've talked about this before on here, whenever I try to get stuff together for him, I struggle. It like everything happens. I don't know. It's like, leave me alone, H.H. Holmes, you weirdo. But there, in the newspapers I was reading, there was a small part of an article kind of comparing her and him. And I was like, oh my gosh, go H.H. Holmes, if you're not going to let me get my crap together for you, don't you come in here on somebody else's. That's all I'm saying. So we have Caroline Sorensen, infant, suspected colitis, insurance monies collected on. Axel Sorensen, same thing, insurance monies collected. Mad Sorensen, only 45, which maybe for 1880 something, that's old. I'm not sure. That's her first husband. He died suddenly. Belle collected life insurance money, enough to move to LaPorte, buy the 48-acre farm, and their candy store and their house both burnt down. Insurance money was also collected there. Second husband, Peter Gunness, age 30, died from blunt force trauma on the day 2 life insurance policies were in effect, and she collected money from both policies. Peter Gunness's infant child died 1 week after they were married from unknown causes while in the care of Bill. And then there's Jenny Olson. So she was adopted either by, could not get this straight. So she was either adopted by Mads, her first husband, and Belle, or Belle and Peter. I'm thinking it was maybe Mads and Belle's adopted her. I'm not sure why. It's a very strange story. So she comes and she's living with Belle, and her biological parents start asking about her. And Belle tells them that she has sent Jenny to LA for finishing school. Her remains were found buried on the farm. So she was between 15 and 17. So it's just really hard to get ages on people that far back. These three here, Myrtle Sorensen, Lucy Sorensen, and Philip Gunness, were the three kids that were found in the basement with her. And apparently, from what the descriptions say, they were huddled around her, around whoever that adult woman without her head was. They were huddled around her as like for protection, which is sad. So Myrtle was 11, Lucy was 9, and Philip was 4. Good for Belle. Good for you, Belle. Her fatal mistake here was Andrew, because he's the one that came, and then that's where everything got bad for her. He was age 40. His remains were recovered by his brother on May 5th, 1908, after the fire. And they were on Belle's farm. Henry Gerholt was not recovered. At least he wasn't identified in the remains that were recovered. He arrived at Belle's farm and disappeared. I put Joe Mo. It's John. Joe Mo, John Mo, Mr. Mo arrived at Belle's farm and disappeared. We did not have anything really about Ole B. Budsberg. He was probably one of the people that answered one of her ads, and he arrived at Belle's farm and disappeared. Olaf Lindblom, 35, was a farmhand. He disappeared. Erie Gerholt, 40, worked for Belle for 5 months and disappeared. We have an unidentified man, age 50, one of Belle's farmhands, disappeared. Then we have 2 other kids, and I don't have any idea where these guys came from. They're an unidentified boy, approximately 8 years old, unidentified girl, approximately 7 years old, and they were found in gunny sacks, mutilated. We have 11 unidentified men and women whose remains were all found on Belle's farm. And that is all for Belle on that. I am on the fence on whether or not I think she walked away from that farm. I am 50-50, because if she walked away from that farm and completely stopped her behavior, good for her, I guess. If she walked away from that farm and continued on, and she still never got caught, that would be, unless she got caught as another name somewhere. But I would think women, like 6-foot tall women back in that time, were not common, I don't believe. So, she was a stout girl, as Puddletown said. They were talking about her in some of these newspaper articles, picking up those trunks like they were nothing and just manhandling them, for lack of a better term. So she was not some dainty little flower in the corner. They said that she wasn't nice. The neighbors said that she was not a nice person to live by. That she would not make eye contact with anybody. She would start off as very nice, but then she just wanted away from you. And so they didn't like her. One person was describing her as not nice and very unattractive. He was not saying nice things about her at all in the paper. Like, you know, I mean, she didn't deserve it to have nice things said about her. She did some horrible, horrible, horrible things. So they are thinking that she had upwards of 40 victims, but they stopped counting. So I don't know how many victims that she had. Yeah, that's my thought process. It's not like she was a small woman that could just go blend in the city. Even if she went to New York or LA or wherever she went, unless she left the country, maybe went back to Norway. I don't know. I don't know. Like, I'm on the fence of whether I think she was in that basement or not. Gillay? You're giving me another hard name to say. Another hard one had 200 children victims. Holy crap. Bad. 1404 to 1440. Wow. That's a long time. Yes, she was a giant. I You guess she could have disguised herself as a man. Well, she did get kind of more manly features about her as she got older, I thought. Uh, let me. So Ray Lampier, whatever his name was, when he went to trial, they said he got a compromise verdict. And so they did find him guilty of the arson, did not find him guilty of unaliving them. So that was good for him, I guess. He apparently, and I could not find I don't think it ever got published, but apparently there was somebody sent into prison to try to see if he was going to change his story. And he apparently did. There was another woman, Elizabeth Smith, maybe, that was arrested for being an accomplice with him. But I could not find what he actually said on if he admitted that he took out Belle and her kids or not. So I'm not sure. He did apparently confess to somebody, a minister wrote down his confession. Obviously, can't record him at that point in time, unless he had that Victrola thing. I don't know. Uh, but and then gave it to the first person that had gone into to see if he could get Ray to, see if his story changed at all. And they wouldn't allow it to be published or anything. So I don't know. He'd already been tried. He was already in prison for arson. So I don't know what the big deal was. Sir Frank Otter. I personally think she didn't leave the farm. The Midwest was known to make people disappear. Yep. They think they don't think they will get justice at that time. Well, that is true. That is true. However, so her crimes weren't discovered until after the fire. The fire is basically what got her in trouble because, well, inviting Andrew to her farm got the ball rolling, but the fire got everybody there. The fire was what made everybody start searching the farm. Um, so I don't know. So apparently, here's another letter, or here's what she. um, so there was a German couple. This is what the newspaper says that they lived next to her, and they saw um, Mrs. Gunness with a bulky man of middle age, and they didn't know that it was Andrew Helgelin going to his demise. The German couple thought nothing of it. They were used to seeing strange men going to the Gunness place, though as they said today, they never saw anybody go away. But the campaign of isolation, here, I'll share it with you because nice. Nice like that. I'm reading over here. They never saw anybody go away, but the campaign of isolation had done its work well. By the time that Gunna's place had become a spot to be let alone, and yet in January 1907, Belle Gunness wrote to A. J. Birkeland, he must have lived, that when people come to visit me, they never want to go away. Next July will be a fine time for you to come to Laporte, and you will never want to go away again. Fortunately for Birkeland, he never came to taste the joys of life upon the Gunness farm. There was no joy of life on the Gunness farm. Never. So and they describe Ray Lamphere as a no account town loafer and bum. He these old articles, and I don't know who Joseph Moo is, because I did not see that name. I saw John Moe, and I think that's where I got Joe Moe in my mind. I never saw a Joseph Moo. Um, but Ray Lamphere said that he says that one day in late January, he was told by Miss Gunness to drive to Michigan City to meet Joseph Moo, who she said was a relative coming to visit her. He had never heard of Moo. But he went, being told to wait until the next morning if Moo didn't come that night. Moo did not come, and when Lamphere returned the next day, he was met by Mrs. Gunness, who would not let him into the house, but told him to take the day off and amuse himself in town. This he did, and when he got back, two men told him that Helgelin had gone away on that afternoon train. Liars. Nobody ever saw Andrew again until his lime-eaten body was dug up in the corpse patch last Tuesday. Oh my gosh. Oh, yeah. Yeah. We've talked about, pig farmers or pig farms, not farmers in particular, but yes. You call your uncle Moo? My sister used to call my mom that. I don't know where it came from. No account. We need to bring that back. Corn sarnet, you low down, no account carpetbagger. Pig farmer named Moo. Yes. I don't know. I don't think Mr. Moo was real. I think she needed time to get rid of Andrew, but that was where she messed up. So apparently there was a woman was arrested because they thought that, oh, sorry. You call your uncle a bum. My sister still called my mom Moo. Sorry. I can't keep up. I can't look over here and see over here. My eyes don't go each direction. But so on May 9th, Miss Cora Bell Heron, widow of Frederick B. Heron, president of the Cethnis Chemical Company of Chicago, arrested in Pullman sleeper at 12 o'clock this morning on suspicion of being Miss Belle Gunness of LaPorte, Indiana. Mistaken identity. Unaliverous, and who was detained here with her mother, Miss Lucy Burton of Franklin, Pennsylvania, was released this afternoon. Miss Heron and her mother left on the Empire State Express at 4 o'clock for New York. As soon as Chief Martin L. Caden reached the police station this morning, he interviewed Miss Heron and immediately realized a mistake had been made and that the woman failed to answer the description of Miss Gunness in the essential particular of having a number of teeth set in gold in her upper jaw. All right. Chief of Police Albert Schaefer of Franklin, Pennsylvania, was communicated with over the long-distance telephone, and he told Chief Caden that Miss Heron was a schoolmate of his. He supplied the name of the hamlet just outside of Franklin where the family lived. He said Miss Heron had two brothers who were farmers in Galloway, Pennsylvania, and gave such particulars that there was no
possible chance of Miss Heron's identification being incorrect. Dispatch from Franklin said that Mrs. F.B. Heron had been stopping with her mother, Miss Lucy Burton, on a small farm 8 miles from the town and that she had been reared in that vicinity. When her husband died in the South last winter, Miss Heron took his body to Franklin for burial. She had no children. Since her husband's death, she'd been in Chicago most of the time and had expected to spend her summer with her mother, Miss Lucy Burton, in whose company she left for New York today. Don't read chat. Yeah, can you imagine? I think it would be cold. I think it would stay cold. I don't know. I like here they just like give her the address of Miss Heron here. I wonder, it says that she has a sister, Miss Ella B. Rockefeller. I wonder if it was those Rockefellers. That'd be something. I can't see where it says, but yeah, so they thought this woman was Miss Bell, and she was not. Also, apparently, when the coroner was examining the woman that was in the basement, she apparently was 2 inches shorter than Miss Bell would have been. So that was another problem. And then they were trying to do something with her handwriting, but it was too old and too faded, so they weren't able to do that either. So we will now know who is in that grave next to Mads and I guess Caroline. Some of them don't have stones, up like headstones, which is sad. Me see if I can do this. I will probably black out these articles because if I just black out the top, we're going to read them anyway. I know you guys. You'll be like, what's so bad in there? You're just going to see a word and then you're like, oh. And you're like, oh, I get it now. We don't say things like that. Let's see if I can find the pictures of her farm. Actually, you know what would be faster? One, if I could just get my thoughts together today. Hey, Daisy. How are you doing? My granddad, not granddog. I am so sorry. Calls me a scallywag. Yes, I see you guys talking all those old words. What about rascal, a scallywag, and a scround? I'm not even gonna try. Blackguard of the highest order. All right, let me find her farm. Because they took a lot of pictures on her farm while they were digging up her farm. And apparently, there's been a couple of movies made about her. I did not know that. I had not seen one. And there had been a couple of some kind of ballads written about her. I'm like, what do you write about? What do you write? Like, too bad you got caught. I don't know. Really? Like every time I pull pictures up, I only get pictures of the farm and now I can't find any. Of course. Of course. Oh, there's a book on Amazon, The Farm from Hell. Thought this would be easier, but that's what I get for thinking. I have to share from X. Will I get in trouble for that? I don't know if you guys can see that. I'm trying to get the comments off of there. So there's her farm. I don't know if they were like over here in this area. I have no idea. I don't think they have a picture of her house before it burnt. There you see all the people gathered. I'm sorry that it's not very big. All the people gathered as they are trying to figure out who's here, who's not here. That's Ray. That's Mr. Lamphere, whatever his name was. That's what I didn't get done. I was putting everything in a file so that I could show you all the pictures. That's what I did not get done. So my apologies. Gabby put the link if you want to buy the Farm from Hell book on Amazon and read more about Miss Belle. I'm sure maybe it goes into a lot more detail, but it's pretty gross what she did already. I don't need any more details. I am very curious on why she felt the need to unalive uh, the 7 and 8-year-old boy and girl. There's nothing to identify them. There was nothing. Also, what's a bluebeard? Do I dare to ask? Bluebeard folklore. Folklore. Good heavens, I need to stop talking. All right. I have no idea what this is going to say. The myth of Bluebeard is a French fairy tale about a wealthy man who, unalives his wives. I get it now. The story is a cautionary tale for women, warning them to obey their husbands. Oh my gosh. Oh, well, there you go. Okay. Women, why not? Huh. Bluebeard is a wealthy man with a blue beard who marries a woman and moves into his castle. He gives his wife keys to all the rooms in his castle except one. He forbids her to open the secret room. The wife opens the room and finds the bodies of previous wives. Oh my gosh. When Bluebeard returns, he discovers the blood on the key and threatens to unalive her. He saves her at the last minute. The moral of the story: the story warns women not to be curious. It also warns men not to blame their wives for being curious, but instead share their secrets with them. Oh, nice. The inspiration. The story may have been inspired by. Oh, wait. Did we have that name earlier? Yes, we did. from Sir Frank Otter. The story may have been inspired by Gilles de Rais, I don't speak French, a 15th century French war hero who unalived peasant boys, a lot of them, 200 apparently. It also may have been inspired by Comore the Cursed, a 6th century, oh my gosh, chief who may have, oh, taken the heads of his pregnant wives. Dear Lord. The word Bluebeard is used to describe a man who marries and unalives one wife after another. The verb bluebearding is also used to describe the crime of unaliving or seducing and abandoning a series of women. Today we just call those baby mamas, right? I mean, oh my gosh. Why did I look that up? Hmm. What happened to Bluebeard's wife? Well, what do you think happened? Kneel at their feet and do everything they say, or else Bluebeard will get you. I'm sorry, I looked that up. Sounds like hokum to me. I'm gonna take that off of there. My apologies. Also, I apologize if you watched Monday's stream and you were a little traumatized by Ronald McDonald from the past. Because I was all day. And still this week, I have been thinking nothing other than stupid Ronald McDonald from the past and lone jogger hamburglar. I don't understand that. I tried to look up yesterday and I didn't like try to go into much detail or look very hard why they called Hamburglar the lone jogger. And I could not find it. Uh, so I don't know. That's weird to me. I don't know what the implications were there. And maybe I'm just overthinking it, but lone jogger is very specific to say. And then I get home and I was just scrolling through the news just to make sure like the world wasn't ending. And then I see that it is Shamrock's Shake season and that McDonald's is bringing back an iconic character. I was like, oh, who could that be? It's Grimace and Uncle, what is it? Oh, Grimacy? If he's a taste bud, he's striped. So explain that to me. Also, I told everybody I talked to that day, which is really just my family members, that I asked them what they thought Grimace was, and nobody knew. And then when I told them he was a taste bud, they looked at me like I was insane. I said, I didn't do it. But now we've got Grimacy. Sorry, Gabby. I know. We've all been dealing with it all week. We've all been sitting here trying to process the things that we saw on Monday about McDonald's from yesteryear, from, from the aforesaid McDonald's. It's not been great. Yeah, like you could be like fun fact, but that's not. It's not a fun fact that Grimace is a taste bud. It doesn't make sense at all. Now, when I say he could also be a shake, people say that they can see that one, but he's purple. They don't have any purple shakes. But I was when I was talking to my husband about it last night, he went down the rabbit hole. He's like, there used to be evil. Grimace used to be evil. Like, just don't keep looking. Don't do it. Trust me on this one. It's the secret room with the key that don't enter. You don't want to know what's behind that door. Like, you just you don't want to know what's behind that door. Don't make me Bluebeard you because you went and looked. Yeah, Sir Sir Frank, I wondered if you heard that. You didn't know he was the inspiration for Bluebeard, but he was a monster. Yes, he was, and also known as Joan of Arc's, comrade in arms. Well, good. Hmm. Wonder if she, obeyed. I'm gonna say no. Gonna say no on that one. All right, guys, that's pretty much all I have for today. I apologize I didn't get my pictures done, but I ran out of time, and that's the way it goes sometimes. But I will keep working away on H Holmes. I'm gonna get that thing done no matter, unless he's like blows up my computer, I'm getting that done. So he's been warned. Holmes, leave me alone. Also, I thought his unaliving castle thing, I thought that was still there, but I saw a thing yesterday that says it's a post office now. Okay. Everybody stops and takes pictures of the post office apparently. Like, whatever. Why would you? Something used to be here. You're welcome, Gabby. Gabby will be here Friday with me, and she is doing a presentation. And hers is done because I have it. Um, and she gets things done. So she will be here with me Friday at noon to do her serial and a liver. We are still in the 1800s, I believe. And I hope that you guys are, so they say it's a post office. Well, I hope you guys are enjoying these. I'm enjoying doing the research on these because I'm finding people that I have not heard of. I had never heard of Belle Gunness, or if I'm probably saying her name wrong, I've never heard of some of these other people that we've done. Obviously, some I have, but the research has been interesting because it generally leads you down another path to somebody else that you didn't. You're like, who's that? And so for me, I like trails that way, that go that way, stories that go that way, and finding out other things that I just didn't know. I will get these articles over once Gabby tells me where to put them in a nice way, Gabby. Um, I'll get them put up in our Discord, and so you can read them. They are interesting to read, and it's funny because the facts aren't all the same in them. So I really had to be careful of kind of who was telling the story, and so you'll probably find things that I did not put in here just because I don't know. And so that's why. But they are interesting to read. They do have a lot of details in them. And so I'll put those up, and I'll send the pictures over to that I didn't get to show of the farm and of the stuff I can't show on here that they took pictures of. Gabby will be talking about 1800s case. His name is Franklin B. Evans out of New Hampshire. New Hampshire. I had no accent for the day except my own Indiana-esque. That's Nebraska, Indiana accent mixed together. That's all I got. That's all I got. It's me. So I will see you guys on Friday with Gabby. Enjoy the rest of your day, whatever you're doing. I know we're all waiting on that verdict to come in. And I will be watching that as well. I think that's all I got. So I'll see you guys on Friday. Thanks for joining me today. Make sure you hit that like button on your way out and subscribe if you haven't already. I would appreciate it. And there we go. So see you guys all later.